In this tutorial, I'll be walking you through some functionality of PinkAI's built-in LFOs and an approach to using them for adding variability to any element of your composition, in this case, to an arpeggiated sequence. Let's activate our conductor track and take a look at the instruments in our set. We have a PinkAI Performer module on every track, including the drums here, the bass drum, snare, and hi-hat. PinkAI Performer on a bass track. 4 Performer modules on this synth pad. 4 Performer modules, each with a different pitch center on this piano track. And finally, the one we'll be working with, the synth arpeggio. First we'll go to our arpeggio and ostinatos preset bank and choose 16th note arpeggio. If you've added a performer module as the conductor module is already running, you'll need to go ahead and restart the conductor, as the conductor won't recognize the instantiation of the new performer device until restarted. Click on the LFO button to expand the LFO section. Click on any of the downward triangles to visualize the LFO. Your standard arpeggio presets will oscillate from a static low to high pitch range, so we are going to use LFOs here to create a much more dynamic arpeggio that varies both its range and velocity settings over time. Selecting a parameter from the dropdown will automatically cause that parameter to start to oscillate according to the settings in the next columns. As we change the LFO type, you can see the grayed out parameter move according to the same patterns as shown on the visualized LFO. As with most LFOs, you can change from a fixed hertz or number of times per second to synchronizing to live's internal tempo. Adjusting your phase will change the starting position of the given LFO every time you restart the conductor. Here I'm going to reduce my rate quite a bit so that it only oscillates 0.02 times per second, or roughly once every 50 seconds. Reducing the amount constrains the upper and lower bounds of the oscillation for the given parameter. And finally, offset moves that range that was determined by the amount up and down within the parameter's bounds. I'm going to take a very similar approach here for pitch range. Watch the pitch range dial automatically move up and down as we adjust these parameters. Take your time with playing around with the parameters one by one. Because PinkAI is designed such that every tweak creates instantaneous audible changes, it's really easy to discover fascinating settings you may never have otherwise conceived of. PinkAI is unparalleled in its ability to create dynamic, ever-evolving long-form compositions. Using an LFO on another LFO's parameters, or LFO Inception, can be really effective at doing so. Here, I'm going to use an LFO on the pitch center's LFO offset, which will cause the pitch center's upper and lower bounds to evolve over time, adding yet another level of variation. The last bit of variation I want to add to this arpeggio is to the velocity. I don't think I want the arpeggio to have the same level of presence throughout the entire length of playback, so I'm going to use an LFO to adjust the default, accent 1, and accent 2 velocities. I'll do these in LFOs 4, 5, and 6 respectively, and adjust some of the parameters before I cause the LFOs to begin. Once I set the parameters around where I think will work nicely, I'll go ahead and select each of these performer module parameters from the dropdown. Default velocity, accent 1 velocity, and finally, accent 2 velocity. Here, I'm interested in each of these velocity parameters to move in the same direction at the same time. If your LFOs ever get out of sync with each other, you can click this LFO sync button to have them all return to the starting point of the oscillator relative to your phase settings. Here we can see the parameter knobs for default velocity, accent 1 velocity, and accent 2 velocity all slowly decreasing according to the speed of the LFO. We hear the resulting changes in the performance intensity of this LFO. It's always a best practice in the box type of composition or mixing to trust your ears over your eyes, but in this case it's also really cool to check out the resulting MIDI unfold on the tracks in front of you. especially for the arpeggiated sequences. Thanks for watching this tutorial, and be sure to subscribe to our channel to stay on top of our latest tutorials, our live stream Shut Eye Sunday series, and our upcoming Shorts series.